thank you everybody who's joining us. And we're here this afternoon with Jaelyn Robinson, who plays with Nathan Gray, who was a very strong and fabulous contributor to our virtual Pride event. And we wanted to take a bit of time to talk with Jaelyn about her life story, playing in the band, her connections, if any, to the LGBTQ community, and really have a chance to hear her story and thank her so much. So with all that being said, hi, Jaelyn.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It's great to be here and just to be able to talk to people, especially since I've never actually met you in person. It's nice to at least be able to see you virtually.
Yes, it's wonderful to have you here. So I wanted to start out by asking you a little bit about, actually, I would like to start out by asking you, where would you like to start?
Well, since I don't think most people know who I am, I mean, if they follow me on Facebook or on Instagram and things, they might have at least a little bit of who I am, but they don't usually know. So I'm a transgender woman, and I transitioned about 15 years ago. It was in 2005-ish, right around there. I started taking hormones and estrogen, that is. And at that time, when 15 years ago, in the area that I grew up in, which is Scranton, Pennsylvania, there was no real community whatsoever. There was no support. There was no friends that I could call or go to. Even the doctors that I did try to talk to at that time had never even heard the term transgender before. And if they did, they read it in a book in medical school and then never bothered to look into it. So I would get a lot of strange faces if I went into a doctor's office and explained to them, you know, hey, I'm transgender. I live as a woman. I am a woman, but my genitalia is a little different than your average woman. And so they would look at me like I was insane, like I was a crazy person, and that they would usually point me towards a psychiatrist or, you know, a therapist more so than medical help. I know that now we've come much further from that. There's a lot of doctors that are actually trained in it and they understand it and they're more helping and giving towards the trans community. But back then it was a very scary situation to be able to go into a doctor's office, even if I just had something wrong with me, say I had an infection or something like that. Some of them would just outright refuse to treat a trans person because they've never experienced it before. They didn't know. They would say, I don't know what kind of medication is going to interfere with your medication that I give you for whatever. So they would turn you away. And that is a horrible thing. That used to happen. Fortunately, now it's happening far less. Now I have zero issues. But anyway, back to that. I transitioned when I just turned 30 when I transitioned. I got to the age where I wasn't getting any younger, and every year after 30, you start to realize, okay, I've starting to have fewer days ahead than I do behind me. So I need to do something right now. Even if my friends and family did not understand, I was ready at that point in my life to lose everything. If that's what it cost me, if I would lose everything, lose all my friends, lose all my family, lose my job. And even at that time, I was still in bands because I did play in bands for most of my young and adult life. I was ready to lose all that because that's how important this was to me. I couldn't bear to wake up every single day and put on the mask of a guy and pretend that I was just a guy and nobody was going to be able to make fun of me because I was going to act like I was tough and I was this gruff boy that, you know, no one could mess with. And of course that was all just a facade. So when I turned 30, I made the decision and I said, I don't care. I'm transitioning. If I lose everything, I lose everything. Thankfully, and this is not a common story, but thankfully, I did not lose everything. Most of my friends, 90% of my friends, were very supportive. My family, most of them, were very supportive. My girlfriend at the time was incredibly supportive and helped me more than any person had ever helped me in my past. And she, with her help, I was able to transition a lot smoother and less. I mean, if I didn't have her, if I didn't have a cisgender woman with me, I mean, I would have no idea what the heck I was doing most of the time, since I lived more than, I mean, but all of my adolescence in a closed bedroom door with the lock. And that's the only place I would feel comfortable. I would have women's clothing, or I would have makeup that I was able to somehow get in some way. And I would put that on, and then I would do what kids do. I would play video games, I would read, I would draw, I would do whatever, but I would do it as myself. So that was a very lonely life. Doing that from the age of, I was 6 when I first started realizing something was wrong with me. And up until 20 to 25, I was doing this. So it was an extremely lonely life to be able to, or to not be able to speak to people about it.
Absolutely.
So once I hit 30, I said, you know, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'll lose everything. That didn't happen. My family was supportive of me. There was a few that were a little iffy. My mom was supportive, but of course she was, you know, like all moms, all good moms, they think it's their fault. They think there's something, oh my goodness, something I did. I must have, you know, dropped her when she was a baby or something, and now she's broken. But after I explained to her and told her and showed her the medical research into transgender people, she started to understand that this was something that I was born with. This wasn't something that happened over time. This was something that what happened when I was born. I was just born, it's kind of cliche to say in the wrong body, but technically that's kind of what happened. My gender is absolutely female, and I've known that since I was little, but my body was born male. So, but she accepted me. My dad at that time was already passed away. I would like to think that he would have accepted me, but I don't know, to be honest. Everyone tells me that he probably would have. And after that, after I told the most 2 important people in my life, which was my mom and my girlfriend at the time, then I told everybody. I went on a telling spree because I wanted everyone to hear it from me more so than hear it from the grapevine or hear it from somebody that maybe didn't have my best interest in mind and try to bring me down a few pegs by spreading lies or spreading mistruths. So I was the one that told everyone I possibly could. And then once I told everyone that I knew, essentially, you know, rather closer friends, then I said, okay, now you guys can tell everyone else. As long as I was covered with all my good friends, with all the friends that I actually cared about their opinions and what they would say, then I said, okay, you can tell anyone now. I don't care. Let it spider web out. And before I knew it, within a few months, I was all over the internet. I don't know how it happened, but I mean, I was in bands at the time, and I did make the underground news as far as band zines and things like that, which was flattering. I don't know. Of course, I never looked at the comments because that's a horrible thing to do. If you're out there and you're going through something similar, never look at the comments from anything that you're in, because all it's going to do is bring you down. It's going to hurt you. Even if there's some uplifting comments, there's going to be 1 or 2 in there that's really going to hurt you. It's better to just not look at the comments. Be you, do you, and that's it. So when that happened, I thought, okay, well, my musical career is over. No one's ever going to want to play with a transgender woman because, like I said, 15 years ago, it was very taboo. Nobody knew anything. Nobody was like, or there wasn't anyone that was thinking, okay, that's great. Come play guitar for me now. So I was in a band at that time, and we did play a last show. The band was breaking up for unrelated reasons. We played a last show, and I played the last show as the real me. So it was like the first show as the real me and the last show as the real me. And that was an incredible feeling. I was terrified, of course, because it was the first time the general public saw me out and in live, in person. So I was terrified. But it was a very good overall experience, especially being able to say goodbye to that band, goodbye to that music as the real me, and let the world see the real me for the first time. And like I said, after that, I was thinking, okay, well, I'll never be able to play again. So I kind of put my guitar down and I sold the equipment that I had. And because I focused more on transition than I did on anything else, because at that time it was still very, very early in transition. So I didn't pass 100%. I was still very, very nervous every time I went outside the house. There was months that I didn't go out without my friend with me, without my roommate with me, or my girlfriend at the time. She would get annoyed at me because I would say, I have to go get milk, or I have to go get something from the store. Will you please come with me? So, and then she did, of course, but I'm sure that was annoying for her. I was just terrified that someone was going to find out, someone was going to see me and know me and try to hurt me. Not even so much physically, because that, I can heal, but mentally and psychologically is really where people can hurt you. And that's the kind of thing that will last with you for the rest of your life. More so the psychological damage than the physical damage. I'll take a punch in the day or take a punch in the face any day over somebody really cutting to the core and hurting me emotionally. So I know I'm rambling and I'm sorry about that.
No, this is amazing.
So
it's an incredibly powerful story.
Well, thank you. So I like I said, I gave up playing. I got rid of a lot of equipment. And then through the years that went by, well, actually, let me quickly, I wanted to get breast augmentation done. And this is another insight as to what it was like back then. This was about 2 years after I transitioned, and I was about 3 years on hormones at that time. And my breasts had grown to the point where they weren't going to get any bigger. And I wanted bigger boobs. A lot of women want bigger boobs. I don't think women certainly don't need bigger boobs or don't need boobs at all as far as I'm concerned, but I personally wanted bigger boobs. So I started calling plastic surgeons. And every single plastic surgeon that I called, with an exception of one, told me that, no, I'm sorry, we don't perform that procedure on men. And that was, like I said, that's maybe 13 years ago. So how much the community has come into the public eye and transformed over the past decade and a few years is astounding to me, and I'm very happy to see that. But there was a time where you could call plastic surgeons and they would just tell you outright, no, I don't do that on men, I'm sorry, go see a psychologist, like that kind of attitude. But finally, I did find one, Dr. Garino. I'm not going to plug him other than that. And he was amazing. At first, his secretary said no to me on the phone. His secretary said, no, I'm sorry, we don't do that. But then I pleaded with her. I said, this really is my last hope. So please do me a favor and actually speak to the doctor himself. I don't want to hear no from you, no offense. I don't want to hear no from the secretary. I want to hear no from the doctor. So please ask the doctor personally if he would perform this procedure. I said, you know what? It's the same procedure that they would do on any woman. They don't have to go through the vagina to get to the boobs, you know, so it's the same thing. There's no reason why he would not be able to do it other than a moral objection, which is iffy at best. So I asked her to do that. She said that she promised me that she would do that and she would call me back. Thankfully, the next day she did call me and she said she spoke to the doctor and the doctor absolutely would do the procedure for me. So it was an amazing thing. But if I had given up in that first 2 minutes that I spoken with a woman, I certainly wouldn't have gotten it done there. I certainly wouldn't have had that experience. So
who knows how long it would have taken you to find someone.
Right. Exactly. So I went there, had the consultation. He told me, yes, everything looks great. I can do it for you. It's the same procedure, just like I had been saying for the months and months at that point. After that, we went to an amusement park called Dorney Park to celebrate. It's just a big giant it's a big giant amusement park with rides, and there's a water park. And anyway, it was a great day to be able to celebrate that. And so after that, I had the procedure done, and it was an amazing feeling. It was an amazing feeling to finally look in the mirror and see the woman that I knew I was, rather than
yourself.
Something else. Right, exactly. I didn't want to immediately throw up when I took off my clothing to get in the shower or to get dressed or whatever. I didn't immediately hate my body, which was an incredible feeling. Plus, it made me look a lot better in clothing that I liked to wear. You know, it's amazing what boobs can do to fill out a dress or a top. When you don't have them and then all of a sudden you have them, it's a big difference. So that was one of the best decisions I've ever done, and I had to fight for it, and I did it. After that, I just started living my life. I got a job, I worked in a tattoo shop for a little while because one of my very good friends spoke to the boss, and they talked amongst themselves, and eventually they offered me a job. So I was a desk girl at the tattoo shop. I did that for years. And then I worked in retail again, because I'd worked in retail prior to that. But I worked in retail again. I went into management again, only this time as myself, which was great. But something was still missing. It was killing me. Something was missing. And it was music. I had been doing music for all my life up until that moment when I transitioned. So I started saying to myself, no. You need to get back into music. You need to do something. So I started looking around for bands. I started trying to figure out what I could do. Everything that I tried just kind of fell through. It didn't really work out. People weren't interested in playing with me, either because I was transgender or maybe they just, musically we didn't see eye to eye. And then I talked with Nathan, and this was years ago. This was over a decade ago that I talked with him first. And he and I were going to start a project that long ago. So I drove all the way down. I met him at shows prior to that because he's in a band. He sings for a band called Boy Sets Fire. And that band is popular all over the world. That's how I kind of met him, but we never really became personal friends from that. I messaged him. I said, you know what? I want to play. Let's play. And he told me to come down and meet him. So I went down to his apartment and I met him. But distance is what kept us from playing together at that moment. So after that, I kept bothering him all the time. I would send him messages and I would say, find me a band. I want to play. Help me. Find me a band. And I'm sure I annoyed the heck out of him. But eventually he said, you know what? I'm doing my solo stuff. Why don't you come and play with me? So, of course, I said, no, are you crazy? You're horrible. No, I didn't say that. I said, absolutely. absolutely, I'll come play with you. I mean, I loved his solo stuff, and I loved playing music. So I mean, it's a win-win situation. So we set that up. I went on my first tour with him a couple of years ago now, and after that, I mean, the rest is history. We click really well together. What he writes, I can sweeten up and put my little sparkles on it here and there, and I love doing what we do. I very much love doing what we do. So that's essentially my story up to now, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. I want to keep going as long as I possibly can, and now I'm at the point where I can start helping the community as much as I can, because there's plenty of women out there that are very similar to me, mm-hmm. that do not have the opportunities that I have, do not have the support not community support. I didn't have any of that, but I did have support of my friends and family, what little they had to give me. But there's plenty of people that don't even have that. There's plenty of people that get thrown out of their houses. I mean, I don't want to throw out numbers and be wrong, but there's a very large percentage of homeless youth in Philadelphia are LGBTQ. And that's a horrible thing. So now I'd like to just try and speak to people as best I can and help them through what I know for a fact is a very difficult time for them, whether they be trans or queer or non-binary. Everybody is the same. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs love and support.
Absolutely. Do you find that, because I noticed that it seems that there's a lot more people that are determining their true gender at a much younger age.
Right. Well, I mean, I knew that I was trans. Well, not that I was trans. I didn't even know what that word was. When I was about 6 years old, when my mom was getting ready for the day, and absentmindedly, not even on complete autopilot, I picked up a pair of her pantyhose and just put them on over my shorts. And my mom looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Getting dressed." And she said, "Well, boys don't wear that kind of stuff." And I said, "Well, maybe I'm not a boy." And she kind of giggled a little, and but she made me take them off, because that's what it was back then, in 1981, 82, something like that. So I took them off, and but that was my very first moment when I was about 6 years old that I questioned, well, maybe I'm not a boy, because I didn't feel like a boy at that time. I definitely didn't, and obviously I'm still not a boy. Nothing's going to change that.
That's pretty cool that you were able to recognize that so early.
Right.
And I am hoping that with today's youth, and as unfortunately, as you said, with the number that are homeless at this point within your city, even, that parents recognize that that's part of accepting, the child as they are.
Yes, exactly. There are people now, since the communities are spreading out and they are much more in the public eye, and just transgender people on a whole are in much more public eye. I mean, there's transgender characters on TV, there's transgender characters in movies. That was unheard of 20 years ago.
Unless it was a joke.
Right, unless it was a joke, right? Like men dressing up as women for a laugh. But it's not like that so much now. I mean, I'm sure there's still a giant swath of our species that are still making fun of it. I know that. That's a fact. But it is slowly changing. It is slowly changing for the better.
And I would hope so. I would definitely hope so. So did you said you didn't lose most of your friends. Most of your friends understood and accepted the transition. Did you have any of them that kind of said, yeah, we already knew?
Well, there was a few events, I'll say events, that happened. When I was younger, the internet wasn't a thing. Everybody,
Yay, but they didn't have internet.
yeah, exactly. My first foray into the internet was web TV. I don't know if anyone ever knew or heard of web TV. What it was kind of like half of a DVD or VHS player. It was very small, and you hooked it up to your phone line and directly to your TV. And the thing acted like a little teeny computer, and it was pretty much only a web browser. That's the only thing it was. And it allowed you to browse the web on your TV with a keyboard. And that's the only thing that you had. And I don't even remember how old I was when that came out, but I remember that was the first time that I was able to search the internet and actually find other women that were like me. It made me feel, I mean, I literally remember sitting there going through, I think they were called GeoCities at that time. There was GeoCities websites. GeoCities was a company that had a server that allowed websites. And there were sites that were dedicated to women, to trans women. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like you mean I'm not a broken freak? I'm not the only one on the planet that is this weird? So that was a revelation for me. I started thinking, okay, maybe there's more people than I thought, and maybe I'm not just perverted. Maybe I'm not just, like I said, like I was broken, like there was something wrong with me. So I don't remember where I was going with that, but that's a good memory that I remember seeing that and thinking, oh my gosh. And I remember the one day I just sat there, kept going through them, and I started counting the different women that I had seen that I knew were like me or similar to me. And I got into the hundreds, and I started thinking, okay, I'm good. I'm all right. I can go with that. I can deal with that.
No doubt, no doubt. Do you look back and you wish that you had maybe started the transition before puberty?
I do. Now, of course, hindsight is 20/20. I can sit here and think that, well, man, if I had a time machine, I could go back and I could start over, and I could do it when I was 13 or something, right around the beginning of puberty, 12, 13. But I was not ready at that time. And I don't think the world would have been ready at that time for me, and certainly not my family or any of my friends. I think if I had done it back then, it would have been a much more horrible story. Because with time usually brings progress. Mm-hmm. And without that progress, things can go very differently. Even for the gay community, when you think 30 years ago of people just being married, just legally being married, mm-hmm. Gay people, and you think of that, and it would be unheard of. No one would ever say that was a good thing or allowed. I mean, there'd be some, but there would be, the majority would say no. But now the majority says yes. So if you think like maybe if I can go back 30 years ago and transition or become gay married, it just wouldn't have worked. It just would not have happened. It would not have been the outcome that you see now. I don't think everything happens for a reason. I'm not that big on fate. I think fate is what we make it. But I was definitely not ready at that time. I was still terrified. I was still a little girl hiding in her room, being afraid. And I did not have the courage at that time. I didn't have the life experience at that time. So it's easy to say, oh man, I wish I did it back, when I was 12 or whatever, but I don't think that could have been possible.
Well, and that's wonderful that, you can look at it and you go, yeah, that would have been cool because it would have made a lot of other things easier, but it wasn't the right time for me.
Right, exactly.
What kind of, what do you think society in general needs to learn at this point? about transgender. We've come a long way from 1981. We're still a whole long way away from where we should be.
Yes, absolutely. I see a lot of people, especially people that are ignorant to what transgender even is. And I don't say ignorant to upset people or to insult people. Ignorant just means a lack of knowledge. That's all. That's all it is. I'm ignorant to many, many things. I wouldn't be able to tell you anything about how, like, what botany is. I can't do anything about that. But there's a lot of people that are very ignorant to it, but willfully so. And that is the problem, where they don't know anything about being transgender or what transgender is, and they don't want to. They would rather just ignore it and sweep it under the rug and pretend it doesn't exist, just like they did back in the 80s or the 70s or the 60s. Is there a way that we could force those people to open their eyes and start to learn and start to understand? Of course there's not. We can't do that. All we can do is remain stead forward and just always forward, never behind. And hopefully, as I said before, with time comes progress. So maybe in the next 10 to 15 years, if we continue down this path of visibility and helping each other and just showing that we are out there, we are here, we're not going away, either you can accept it or we can wait until you die. And I know that sounds terrible.
No, I was just thinking, it's the youth that will help us go forward.
Right, exactly.
Them.
The future,
and they learn.
The future belongs to the youth, and fortunately, the youth are on our side for the most part. So with time comes progress. And I think since we've come this far, since the 80s, or even the last 15 years, that I have personally just witnessed and seen, I can imagine what's going to happen in the next 15 years or the next 20 years. I'm very optimistic for the future. So if anyone's out there and you are terrified and you don't know what to do and you hate yourself and you don't know what your friends or your family are going to think, or you're going to lose your job. I lost my job too at that time. I didn't care. You have to understand that happiness is more important than things. Happiness is more important than being able to hide and lie about who you are. I would rather, as I said before, take a punch in the face than live my life with a mask on, the mask of masculinity, which is what I had. I would much rather live broken and beat than live in that shadow of that mask. I know that not everyone feels that way, and everyone maybe doesn't have the strength that you would need to do something like that. But all I can say is we're with you. I'm with you. I love you. And no matter what, it will be better in the future. It will be, I promise. It might think like it's the end of the world today, but it's not. It's not the end of the world today. It won't be the end of the world tomorrow. Give it some time.
Arlita, if it's all right, I'd like to ask.
Yes, I was going to say, does anybody have any questions? I know I've been dominating the conversation.
Well, first of all, Jaelyn, I would like to say thank you for being here and sharing your story. I know how much
Very welcome.
It means so much to me, but it also means a lot to our youth. And you are right, we are at a different place than we were in the 80s. And there are a lot of good things on the internet. We've got the free mom hugs. You know, I redirect people to the Trevor Project or Glisten or GLAD. But, you know, they're still struggling. Are there resources that you would point to for our youth who are even high school or just out of high school? Places that you have either sought refuge or found helpful, supportive wise?
Honestly, I don't know many organizations. I haven't been keeping apprised of the organizations or um, who to contact as far as that. What I can say is find your very best friend and multiply them by 2 or 3. Surrounding yourself with knowing and acceptable or understanding friends is the best thing that you can do for yourself. If I did not have my girlfriend at that time to help me and essentially hold my hand through a lot of my transition, I would not be here today. And I 100% believe that. I certainly would not be who I am today if I did not have her. I don't know if I would have had the courage to do what I did without that kind of support. It surely would have ended differently, I'm sure. But surround yourself with friends that will love you and that will help you. Fair weather friends are not really what you're looking for when you do something this life-changing. You want people that will support you no matter what, no matter through the difficult times or the great times. So find those people in your life that are that close to you. You feel that you can trust them with anything. And those are the people that you want to utilize for your transition and your next step towards who you are.
I love that piece of advice. Thank you.
Did anybody else have any questions? I'm going to ask which one fun one here at the end. How hard was it to, because I've seen this quite often now since the shelter in place. How hard was it to put together a set from different parts of the country? You obviously couldn't play together, but you sound like you're playing together.
Yeah, it was put together relatively quickly. We knew it was all going to happen because, you know, we talked for weeks and weeks prior to that. But as far as the setting it up and getting it all together, it was rather chaos. It was chaotic, I'll say. We all had to record our own parts separately, and then we used those recordings and played video to them. So we tried to match them up as well as we could, all of us, all the 4 of us together. There are some spots in the video where you can see that the video doesn't precisely line up with the music. And that's because of those little errors that, you know, one of us will be playing a part and we'll go just a little bit longer than the next person. So then our fingers will get a little bit mixed up. But everything that you hear, the music itself, was all recorded by us separately in our own homes, doing our thing.
That is amazing. Because I see it, I've seen it, and I'm like, wow. I know they're not doing that live because I've tried singing Happy Birthday live or in a meeting like this, and that didn't work.
Yeah.
I have another question for you. What's your favorite thing about playing in the bands?
I love the being able to express myself musically, and especially being able to get some energy out. When you come and see us live, which I hope that you do, I'm sure that once this COVID-19 kind of calms down a little bit more and the clubs start to open up more, I'm positive we'll be back on the road and we'll finish the tour that got cut short because of COVID-19. And then there's many more planned in the future. So please do come out and see us. And when you do, you're going to see a much different show than you saw when we played in the video there. For one thing, we have a drummer. His name is Jake. Hi, Jake. You're super awesome. And of course, hello to my other boys, to my other brothers out there. I love expressing myself and just getting some energy out, and especially expressing Nathan's message with his lyrics. I agree 99% of the time with Nathan. He is pretty much the male version of me, and he knows it, and I know it. we agree most of the time. So I love being able to spread that kind of a message out there. And plus it gets me some great experiences. I get to travel around the country, at least, hopefully travel around the world soon. And it's an amazing feeling, going from city to city and state to state and just meeting new people and touching people's lives if we can. And it's just something that is, it's an amazing feeling that I would never want to give up if I didn't absolutely have to.
But that would be my question. Are you planning to also come to Germany and to Europe with Nathan? Maybe when this COVID-19 thing is over?
I would love to come to Germany and Europe and play. Nathan has currently a European band that he plays with.
Yeah. Ben and.
But if I can weasel my way onto that plane,
do it
and play, I will totally do that. So that all depends on what Nathan wants to do, and the record label and the finances that go into that type of a thing to set it up. Mm-hmm. So, but I would absolutely love to do that. I've never been to Europe, and I would love to come there and play for you all and meet you all.
That sounds great.
I would be very happy to see you in Germany.
Thank you.
So we'll make sure Nathan knows that.
Yeah.
Another question for you from the group. What song inspires you the most?
From our music, or from, I would assume,
let's say yes.
From our music, or what song particularly? I mean, as the times change, inspirations change, and right now, I'm going to plug Nathan again. There's a song that I very, very much like, and he's going to kill me because I can't remember the name of the song. I know the words, but the song, and I'm not even going to try to murder the name because he'll kill me, but it's about standing up for yourself and standing up for others, which is more important than standing up for yourself. Everyone can stand up for themselves, but it's when you help those that can do nothing for you, that I believe is the best thing that you can possibly do for each other. So I'll go with Never Alone, which is the song that I am the girl in the video for. The video is on YouTube. And that song is about having a place to go when you're feeling very down, very low, where you feel like you don't have any hope whatsoever because of a situation you might be going through, whether it's LGBTQ or if it's just a really crappy day, or something happened with a loved one, or everyone has that feeling of that horrible loneliness of the, it's not going to get better. And that song, Never Alone, gives me the feeling of togetherness, of come to our shows, go to your friends, experience what life can be like when you are a group rather than an individual, which a lot of times we think of ourselves as individuals, and we are, but we also have groups, which is friends and family, and they can help us through a great deal.
Absolutely. Does anybody have anything else? If not, I would say, Jaelyn, is there any last words you want to give us?
It was a pleasure and an honor to be here, and for you to ask me to come. That's amazing. I know Nathan feels the same. I know the boys feel the same about doing the music for this event. I am obviously, and all the rest of the boys are proud supporters of the LGBTQ community, and it's an honor to be here and to be able to to share my story, you know, because like I said, some people know it, some people know a little bit of it, they have little pieces here and there, but for the most part, they did not. So thank you for the opportunity to be able to share that.
And thank you for the opportunity of sharing it with us. We are actually the ones that are honored.
Well,
Very
thank you.
much appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and to share your story, because I know it can be a hard story to share.
It is. It is. I mean, for the longest time, I didn't want to share it. I kept it quiet. I kept it pretty close to the chest, and I didn't want to tell. Certainly didn't want to tell the details.
Right.
Especially about, you know, the pain and the tears that certainly came with the transition. But now, since the older you get, the more it's not like I'm an old person. Don't make me. That's not what I'm saying. But the older you get, the more you realize that what have you got to lose? And if my story can help someone else, if my story can possibly give someone a future to look forward to, then of course I'm going to spread it as far and wide as I can.
Well, I have to say I'm really disappointed that I am all the way out in Michigan and you're in Philadelphia, and that there's COVID between us, because I would very much want to give you a hug at this point.
Thank you. I would love that too. I would love that too.
Next time you come to Michigan, or if I get out to Philadelphia.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know my email. You can always contact me, or contact me through Facebook. I'm on there. Robinson Jaelyn is my name on there. On Instagram, I don't even remember. I think it's Robinson Kitty, Kittie, to contact me.
Which is because of the kitties?
Well, yes, I think so. But I think it also was a screen name that I used to use a long time ago, like years and years and years ago, when the internet, like I said, with web TV, when it first started, just kind of stuck, and I kept it. But so anyway, yeah, you can always contact me through there. Anybody, if you need help or support, or you just want to talk, you need someone to talk to that maybe has experienced some of the things that you're experiencing, feel free to message me and to talk to me. I'm here.
Thank you.